welcome to our porch. I'm going to share a few of my favorite ways, favorite changes of our house that have made the biggest difference in this video. We've lived here for 1.5 years now, which is so crazy. I don't know how time has just flown by so quickly. I feel like I've done like 30% of the changes that I want to make, and they're all kind of like small changes. We're not like tearing anything down. If you want to see more smaller videos of little projects here and there, I would recommend following on Instagram. Every little project pretty much gets posted on there. First change that, and I've talked about this so many times, but the first change that has made a big difference has been adding this trellis back here. And this is Brooksie's little life vest. But we planted star jasmine because it wasn't a completely open porch, which is fine, but I wanted a little bit more privacy because you can kind of see our neighbors very clearly right there, which is, again, fine. We love our neighbors, but I wanted to be able to sit out here and just feel kind of secluded and peaceful and just have some privacy. So adding these huge planters, we put the trellis in the planters, surrounded it with dirt. This is about a year's growth of two jasmine plants. And as you can see, it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. So everything else, well, not everything, but most of the other things that I'll share will be inside. In our entryway, we switched out the light fixtures in almost every single room, which is just, an easy way to make a big difference in your house. But we also changed the stair runner, and really before we moved in, we had some carpet upstairs removed. This little area in right outside of the entryway, I've never repainted it. It is something on my to-do list. I just don't know, I gotta find something that kind of works with this wallpaper. This wallpaper was already here, and I like it, but it is really old, so there are some spots where it's ripping up. But we will go into this room first. So this is a kind of multi-purpose room, and we didn't really do anything to it until a few months ago. But this is now the room that I would say we spend the most time in. It's a slightly more formal than our living room, sitting room. It also has a desk. It's really just where we spend each morning. These storage cabinets that we built from scratch, or actually the cabinets were pre-made cabinets from Lowe's, and then we built the bookshelves, we built the bench, we added a cushion, and it's a storage bench. So all of this storage down here is where Brooks keeps a lot of his toys. Sorry, I found this here. Brooks was playing with tape.
Tony!
One of the changes that made the biggest difference was just adding more storage and a seating area specifically by a window, because you can add benches anywhere, but if it's not near natural light, I'm probably not going to sit there. And so this bench, being next to this window, and the sun kind of just shines in every morning, but it's the first place I want to sit every day. I sit there all the time, more than I do at my desk, which is probably concerning for my back. On this wall, we have this cabinet that we've had for a while. I plan on adding a very beautiful gallery wall, I think. I want to be very intentional about what I put on here, because it's already, this wallpaper is so pretty, it's kind of a shame to cover it. But I do think that it could use just a few really good pieces of art. So that's the plan for this wall. And then this is also toy storage. And there's a ball. There's a ball in here. The next thing that made the biggest difference is this window wall. And before this wall was here, it was just a big open downstairs kind of open layout. But I wanted there to be some separation between the kitchen and the living room. And I didn't want natural light to be taken away, so that's where I got the idea of just doing glass. We hired someone to help us build the wall itself because it's very structural. I wanted it to be safe, and it could maybe be a DIY project, but we let someone else handle the basics, and then we added all of the details.
Once the glass was installed, the wall even allowed us to make a little breakfast nook on one side of it to better utilize the space. For now, I just used old mismatched benches, a bistro table that I found a few years back at an antique store, and a tablecloth to disguise the fact that none of this matches, but it turned out to be the perfect small size for our family. It was then time to add a little more character to it, so I framed every single window and the entryway with trim and also added these corbels to the corners. The next step will be painting everything and also adding trim to the other side, but this was one of those projects that made such an impact and took our very open concept living room and made the entire space more functional and more cozy. But for now, it's on to painting.
It still lets in all the natural light, so it's a perfect little solution for if you have a really, really open concept house. If you want more rooms to be like sectioned away from other rooms and have their own purpose, I would recommend looking into something like this because it made a big difference.
Something I always wanted to do, and I knew that once we had a yard, it would be a good time to explore, was adopting a dog. And last September, we found Petunia, who we call Toonie. Just like how much she's changed is what really opened my eyes to how many people are involved in helping save these dogs and cats' lives. One of the companies that is doing a lot of work behind the scenes and investing a lot of dog food supplies and just support in general is Hills Pet Nutrition. I'm very proud to partner with a company that is doing this type of work. And through their Food, Shelter, and Love program, they have partnered with over 1,000 different shelters in North America to provide dog food to the dogs and the cats that are in these shelters. They also provide free bags for the new pet parents to take home for a smoother transition. And they have a new pet parent website, kind of like a hub with tools and tips to really make sure that the pet has the best start to life as possible. This program has helped over 15 million pets find new homes. And I'll leave this link in the description, but you can search for the closest participating shelters near you. And it's just a great program that I am really proud to partner with. Toonie is a Great Dane. She has been the sweetest addition to our family, but the whole process of adopting a dog, it really opened my eyes to how many people are doing work behind the scenes, like organizations, people donating supplies and money and food, and the foster families that are involved. Petunia's rescue organization paired us with her. They were like, we have this dog that we think will be the perfect fit based on your family. Based on the photos that I saw and her history of just from hearing from the foster family, she had been through a lot of health issues, but now she's healthy and happy, and she's just such a great dog. So adopting Toonie has been one of the most meaningful changes since moving and finding this house and just making the most of where we live.
Also, just a little project that made a big difference, adding exterior shelving to the back side of our house. This is kind of like a potting table, but when we have dinners outside, it's like a food serving table. This was a table I found on Facebook Marketplace, and we added a new surface, and then the same surface is used for the shelves. But it was a change that made a good difference, a big impact in how we use our outdoor spaces. Oh look, some roses are about to bloom. This is something that made a pretty big difference. We just added this trellis. We kind of nailed it to our deck and grew some pretty flowers. Building a garden! Building this garden, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what the garden can provide in terms of food we can grow and everything, but I want this one to have a lot of lettuces in it, and I have a lot of learning to do. This is a whole new hobby for me. So cucumbers are thriving though. Aside from just having flowers and food and just fun stuff like that, it's also just such a peaceful place to be when Brooks is outside playing, and it's really transformed this side of our yard and it's made me realize like you can have a garden without having like a huge yard. Back in the kitchen, extending the cabinets to the ceiling. There's not a whole lot to say about that, but it did make a huge difference. It kind of made our whole kitchen feel a lot taller, and I love that. All right, another change, big difference, which is, this one's kind of boring, but it's not boring because it makes a really big difference, is paint and wallpaper. And I added wallpaper to so many rooms in this house. We have it in here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. But I would say this room, it makes the biggest difference, the paint especially on the trim. But it isn't finished. I feel like the next year is going to be the year that I focus on ceilings for this house, because the ceiling just feels a little boring compared to the walls. And so I'm not sure exactly what I want to do to the ceiling. I think it would be really cool. I've been seeing a lot of like painted lattice. I just know that this room is not finished at all. I also would love to add a larger, this type of furniture on this wall. There's so many things that you want to get done. So that could be a next year thing. Another change that made a big difference, this is a little change, but adding these curtain rods to the ceiling to create the illusion of a canopy bed without actually buying a canopy bed. Although I might one day add one more to the top and the back, just to add curtains in the back. I love how this turned out. This is one of my favorite little changes that made a big difference. But I do think I'm going to swap out the curtains, add a little print here. And if I'm being totally honest, I've said this before, but this is my least favorite wallpaper in our house. And we added it. So I don't know why I don't like it anymore. I think it's the blue, I think it's the color. It makes the room feel a little cold, and I really love warmth. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'm going to just take it down, paint the room, add prints in other ways, but I did find these and they look really good draped down from there. So I think that'll be a fun change to make in here. And then when the baby comes, because when you have the baby, they don't really sleep in their room for several months. So she'll be sleeping in our room, and I want to have curtains, like real curtains. We have these Roman shades, but they don't do too much about like lighting. They're more of a privacy thing. It is so bright in here when the sun comes up every morning, which is fine, but I just have a feeling with a newborn baby, we might want some curtains. So that's another change that I want to make, but hopefully this video gave you some ideas. And it was kind of like a recap video for a long time, a year and a half of home projects. I didn't include like a lot of little things. We added molding in so many rooms. We of course had so many other little projects going on, but those are the changes that made the biggest difference in our like everyday life. And I appreciate you watching this video. I will see you next time.